Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be discussing about my thoughts of 3D CG anime. So my thoughts on 3D CG anime, I must admit, I find 3D CG anime is quite interesting in my opinion. Well, interesting in a way, but I have to say that it is actually an anime ahead of its time. And what I mean by that is that 3D CG is kind of like bringing out something that is very much what I like to call modern anime. And of course it is so futuristic as well. And it kind of feels futuristic when I watch any particular anime show that is in 3D CG, of course. And I must admit, yeah, it is actually quite different to your generic traditional anime, which are hand-drawn animation, of course. So in this video I'll be talking about some examples of 3D CG anime that I have actually come across and experienced, of course. The first time I watched of a 3D CG anime was actually from America, and this is a show that you guys may actually come across actually. And this show in question is called RWBY. When I first watched RWBY, this was an anime that, in my opinion, was ahead of its time. Something that is so familiar but something different. And I was really quite intrigued by this style of animation because I have actually been watching hand-drawn anime for years, and this is the first time I have actually watched this type of animation art style to this anime. So I have actually been watching other shows as well from Japan, of course, of anime shows which are, yes, you have actually got traditional hand-drawn animation that has been released monthly, of course, for 3-6 months, of course, and every season. But there's always going to be one among them that will actually have 3D CG animation. And I must admit, it is kind of futuristic of ahead of its time. And some shows which have, not only you got some shows that have just 3D CG, of course, but you have actually got a mixture of both hand-drawn and of course 3D CG. Some examples of anime shows I have come across with a combination of both. I have actually watched an anime during the summer called The Black Summoner. Well, it was in this last episode of this show, which had a battle scene between our main dude named Kelvin, who was up against a bad guy, and this was a fight scene taking place up in the sky, right above an elven village. In this particular scene, we see 3D CG animation being used in this fight scene between these two characters. Even though some parts of the fight have used hand-drawn animation, of course, there's actually a bit of 3D CG in it, actually, which I was surprised by watching this episode when I saw 3D CG being used in this fight. And I thought it was just going to be, well, hand-drawn animation anyway. But I was surprised anyway that it had 3D CG, of course. There are other good 3D CG anime shows that I have actually come across and watched lately, including an anime show called D4DJ First Mix. This show, in my opinion, not only enjoyed these characters with their personalities, of course, but it was the animation that really actually intrigued me the most, which was full 3D CG throughout every single episode of this series. This was a good show actually to watch, and I highly recommend watching this one, of course, too. Even though I noticed that it's actually 3D CG, it has a bit of 2D hand-drawn animation in some places, but the vast majority, of course, of this show is mostly animated with 3D CG. Other shows that I have never actually watched before in 3D CG, such as X-Arms, of course. Now, that's another show that has just come out recently, and I wasn't really quite interested in it not because I didn't like the animation, but I just didn't really want to watch this one because it wasn't one of the anime shows around the time, among all the other anime shows that were released around that time, that I wasn't interested in. There were other anime shows around that time that took my interest for me personally, but X-Arm wasn't one of them actually. So yeah, I noticed that one has actually got 3D CG animation. But nevertheless, regardless, I have never watched this one, even despite I have actually watched some snippets on other videos on YouTube, of course. So yeah, I must admit, 3D CG animation on anime shows is quite something else in my opinion, of course. And it is ahead of its time for the anime industry, of course. Not just in Japan, but outside as well. Such as RWBY from America, of course. And yes, this might be something that may happen in the near future for any anime show that's going to come out seasonal, actually, of course. And if that's the case, then maybe hand-drawn animation for anime could be a thing of the past, actually. So yeah, my final conclusions of 3D CG anime. To me personally, I actually do like it. Actually, it looks quite good, actually, I must admit. Good detail. Yes, sometimes it can get a little bit off in places, but sometimes I look past it, actually. And I'm very quite impressed with the fact that the animation of RWBY from Rooster Teeth, of course, with 3D CG animation they have done for that show. I must admit, it looks really quite detailed for an anime, actually. But it is actually ahead of its time, actually. And there's a question, is 3D CG anime going to be the future for the anime industry? And is hand-drawn traditional 2D animation for anime will become a thing of the past? So yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about that because of course I'm very happy and used to 2D traditional hand-drawn animation for anime. So honestly, I'd rather see that continue onwards actually, rather than a brand new animation art style or type of animation art style to become the new face for anime of the future. But who knows? What you guys think in the comments below actually. So yes, this is my conclusion of my thoughts of 3D CG anime. I hope you enjoyed my discussion of talking about 3D CG anime. So yeah, put your thoughts about 3D CG anime in the comments below. And anyway, put your like and subscribe to my channel for future content. And I will see you guys next time.